Cortez once said that he and the ancient Spaniards of his time suffered from a sickness of the heart, whose only cure was gold. Hi, everybody. I'm Graham Alcock, and for the next while, I'll be your host and narrator for this presentation on prospecting for gold nuggets using a metal detector. Now, the science of geology has taught us that gold nuggets are almost always found in or near quartz rock. And the passage of time, millions of years of time, have changed the face of the land, and gradually the natural phenomenon such as weathering, erosion, has caused the quartz to release that gold. And those natural actions have caused the gold to be scattered widely from the ridgetops to the creek beds. Now, within this presentation, you're going to have the opportunity to meet 4 full-time professional prospectors. And these pros, through bribes, threats, and promises, have all agreed to share their knowledge and expertise with us. Plus, you're going to get valuable tips on nugget hunting. Before we meet our first pro, you should also be aware that he's the author of Zip Zip. And this will give you everything you need to know about nugget hunting from A to Z. So let's go meet the author, one heck of a hunter, Larry Soleil. Well, Larry Soleil, where are we?
Well, somewhere in southern Arizona.
What kind of a metal detector do you use, Larry?
I like the White's Gold Master 2. It's been real good to me so far. It's a real good machine. It's been real good to me. I realize this one doesn't quite look like a stock machine. I've made quite a few modifications, but it is the White's Gold Master 2. Well, to start with, let's cover all the basic knobs and controls on the Gold Master 2. This little plug here is a dust cover for where the headphones go and plug in. There's actually 3 ground balance knobs on this machine. This is the coarse one. You've got a medium and a fine. They're all hooked together, and what it amounts to is a 40-to-1 resolution, which means you can set it very, very specifically to the exact circumstances you've got out there. It's got an iron meter that also doubles as a battery test meter. When you first turn it on, it does a battery test and then goes into its normal function. Up here is the switch for the iron meter. This knob over here is the threshold, which adjusts the loudness of that little tone you listen to when you're hunting. This switch in here is for the SAT. We've got a standard SAT, which we hunt in most of the time, a pinpoint mode, which for some people that have trouble pinpointing a target, it slows the SAT down and gives you more time to pinpoint a signal. And it's also got a reset, which is a highly speeded up of the SAT. This here is the on-off switch and the gain, which used to be also called sensitivity. This is a new version of the Gold Master. The threshold is a 10 turn now instead of a 1 turn. And the SAT, if you put it in the standard, we've got a knob on the back that allows you to vary the speed up to 50 times faster than standard SAT. It's kind of an advanced feature, and most beginners won't even get into it, but it is there for when you want it. Okay, we're going to go through setting up the machine and ground balancing it. First thing to do is turn the machine on. I'm going to put the sensitivity on about 4. Most people have a tendency to turn the sensitivity up too high. In a mineralized area like this, it's not something you want to do. Turn the threshold up so you can hear it. I've got my earphones out so you can hear this as we ground balance it. The 2 knobs in the middle, the ground balance knobs, I'm going to set them both centered at the top. And we'll pump the machine up and down about a foot. As you can hear, it's getting louder going towards the ground. The way I explain to people to do this is pretend this ground balance knob is a simple volume control. If it gets louder on the downstroke, you want to turn it down. If it gets quiet going down and then makes a loud noise coming up, it's getting quieter going down, you want to turn it up. So I'll turn that up. You can see I've gone too far now. I'm going to back it back off again. Still getting louder going down. And I'm still working with the coarse ground balance, the coarse knob on this machine. Still a little bit. Okay, we're real close. Now I'll go to the fine ground balance knob and bring it on into a neutral ground balance. As you're ground balancing, kind of move around a little bit. Don't do it in just one spot because you may have a target or a bad patch of ground on that one particular place. If you move around, you get a better ground balance.
Now the headphones, how important are they?
I got 2 pieces of advice on headphones. Always use them and buy the very best you can afford. The main thing to look for with headphones is high impedance. These are a pair of Sony's that have got 63 ohm impedance. They're balanced, real nice set of headphones. I understand Koss has come out with a real nice set of 100 ohm impedance headphones with volume control built in, which would be a real nice match for the Gold Master 2. Now we've located a little side gulch here that looks like the old timers have worked with dry washes a little bit. It's got the right kind of quartz and minerals in it, so we're going to go ahead and hunt this a little bit and see what we can locate.
You know, I've heard the gold in this area is real pretty, very coarse and sometimes quartzy. Maybe with some luck, Larry will find some for us.
Old timers did quite a bit of work up in this little gully. Some old tailing piles up here. You can see this here, to a lot of people this is just a bunch of rocks, but if you look closely at it, you can see that they're all kind of coarse and large. This is a part of an old coarse tailings pile. It's a good place to be hunting. Sounds like a hot rock under here. Oh, it's not a hot rock, there's a target in here. Got ourselves an old button here, old rusty button. It's not all that's in here. A lot of people would have left the rock alone and went on and missed the button, and then a lot of people would have left the button alone and missed whatever else is in here. Probably just a bird shot. See if I can tell about where this little target is. Okay, I've got it out of the hole now. See if I can't get it into this cup and find out what it is. I think I got it now. Give it a shake. If it's lead or gold, it'll usually go to the bottom of your cup. There it is. Let you hear what I'm listening to here. Pretty quiet. Give you an idea what kind of signals we're hearing out here. Lost my hat. Take and dump about half the dirt in your hand. The target's still in the cup, so we'll set this aside and split it again. Okay, it's in my hand now. Dump about half that back in. It's in the cup now. Still in the cup. You'll notice I'm not just pitching this dirt out away. Believe it or not, you can find more than one piece of gold or any other kind of target in a hole, so don't just throw your dirt away. Keep it and check it after you're done. Well, what do you know? Got this little piece of gold out of here. A little tiny one. It's only about maybe a grain, grain and a half. It's one of the advantages of the Gold Master 2 that I really appreciate. The high frequency is real good at nailing these little tiny nuggets. Now we've gotten out of the washes and up onto a hillside here. This area looks really good. If you look around, you can find areas of exposed bedrock up here. The soil is very red. It gets that way from iron leaching out of the ironstone and into the ground. Gold and iron are real good friends. You usually find them together. If you want to find patches, this is the kind of areas you want to be looking in. Got a little something down in here. Maybe a hot rock. I don't know. Sounding better. I wear out a lot of boots. Kind of a funny sounding little target. I think I got it right around in here. Let's see what we come up with. I think I got it. Yep, it's in here. Sounds a lot like a bird shot. And there's a lot of that out here. The quail hunters have left a lot of bird shot. Maybe a hot rock. Oh, look at this. Little tiny piece of quartz with a tiny bit of gold on the side of it over here. No wonder it was giving such a tiny signal. That is a real small piece of gold. It's probably about, I don't know, 1.5 grains, 2 grains stuck to that piece of quartz. Part of the reason we're hunting this hillside is because it's got quartz running down it. Quartz and gold are closely associated. Let's take a little walk up here and look at some of this. You can see there's quartz all over the ground on this hillside. That is the kind of quartz that I look for when I'm out here hunting gold. This piece of gold we found on this quartz is pretty clean, but we've generally in areas like this and other places I've been, we found that the gold is usually associated with this purplish stained, nasty looking quartz. But the worse this stuff is, the more chance you got to find a gold associated with it. Move up the hillside even further, you can see we get more and more quartz up here. Looks like this is the actual vein right here running through. You could probably trace this through the hills and valleys for quite a ways, and this may run several hundred feet into the ground. At some point in time it carried gold, and that's why we found this little piece of float down there. It's a good thing to look for when you're hunting. We're back down in the gulch now. That quartz flow we just looked at is right up the hill here. There's a little tiny gully right below it leading down into this gulch, so this seemed like a logical place to hunt next.
What's the deepest nugget you've ever found, Larry?
Let's see, the deepest nugget I ever found, it was an 1.5 ounce nugget. It was about 14 inches down the side of a gully. It was shaped about like a $half, and it was on edge, so that was a real good hit. It was faint, it was real faint, but I got it. Typically, if you nail them 4 to 6, 7 or 8 inches on some of the bigger ones, you're doing pretty good, especially in mineralized dirt. It takes a pretty good sized nugget to make a sound way down there. Getting back on coil control again here. A lot of people would just sweep across this hollow spot here, but eroded places like this are real good spots to check for little bits of gold, so try to get into them. Now the coil, these elongated coils don't work well front to back, and there's not room to get in here, so the thing to do, just take your boot or your digging tool and make a little bit of room so you can get in there. Now you can get in there and hunt that like you're supposed to. Find out if there's anything going on in there. Now after you've gone to the trouble of creating one of these kind of spots, you know nobody else has hunted it thoroughly, so make sure you cover it well before you give up on it. It doesn't look like there's anything in here. Go ahead and move on. Be sure and get in between all this brush and stuff. A lot of people won't do that, whether they're afraid of snakes or just lazy, but a good place to find gold is where nobody else has looked for it yet. When you're looking for places to hunt, this is one of the things you want to look for, is old tailing piles like this. The old timers worked this rather extensively, probably 1930s or so. They took material out of this wash that we're standing in, and threw the top layer up on the bank to get it out of the way. Then they'd set up a dry washer up here, and the material down close to bedrock they'd process through the dry washer. When you run a dry washer, you get two kinds of piles out of it. It's got a classifier, which is a screen, and your heavier, coarser rocks just fall off the screen into this pile here. The fine tailings pile up here is the stuff that actually got processed through the machine and gets put into this pile up here. This is the fine stuff that could actually go through the screen and get into the machine itself. The coarse tailing pile is where you're going to find your nice nuggets, because they dig up nuggets that wouldn't go through the screen. They slide off with these rocks, and most of the time they didn't get caught. So you're going to find small nuggets typically in this pile. This is where you're going to find the ones that you write home about. The overburden that they threw out is probably like this material in here. It's just all different sizes, lots of dirt in it. It looks different. When you've seen a lot of these, you get used to looking for them. It's an excellent place to hunt for gold. This looks like a pretty good tailings pile here. I'm going to go ahead and hunt this a little bit, see what we can locate. I prefer to work from the bottom up, so I'm going to go ahead and move down here to the bottom and check my ground balance and see what we can find. Ground balance is good. Oh. I'm sure you don't have any trouble hearing that. There's a real large something or other down here. Here's a gold nugget I'm retiring. An old piece of pipe. We've got these super magnets that are starting to show up on the market now, and they work real good. Too good. Pick that up later and throw it away. Don't get your finger caught underneath one of these things, it'll hurt you. And let's see what else is in here. Another target in here. It's a good one. Got ourselves another nail here, a rusty nail. These magnets are great. They just scarf these things right up, save you from having to isolate them and dig them out. Nobody's raked this one down yet, and it looks like a pretty good sized pile, so I think we'll go ahead and rake this down and check a little deeper into it and see what else we can find. When you're raking down these piles, don't be shy about it. Just dig in there and knock about 4 to 6 inches off the top of them. As you can see, we're still into the coarse material, even down here almost a foot deep. All you want to do is get closer to the bottom of the pile, try to pick up any material that's not up near the surface. Well, we got this raked down. Let's go ahead and hunt it a little bit and see if we can find anything else in here. See if the old timer's lost any more nails or anything. You'll find that when you've raked into one of these things, the mineralization is usually a little worse. The moisture seems to bring it out. I'm getting something in here. It sounds a little bit like a hot rock. We'll check it out. I think we're getting close to something here. These coarse tailing piles can be aggravating. The material will keep working its way down through it if it's lead or gold. I gotta tell you, this one's got my heart beating a little faster. Oh yes. Let's see what we got here. Uh-oh. Oh yes. Looky here. That is beautiful. 3 to 4 pennyweights probably. That's a gorgeous nugget. You can see the gold around here is fairly coarse. It's got quartz in it. Oh, that's a beautiful piece. Yes. Well, we moved over a little bit and hunting a fine tailings pile over here. Oh, that's a pretty big signal for a fine tailings pile. Probably a nail or something. No? Uh-oh. Some sort of a mineralized rock here. Let's see if it'll balance out. Can't tune it out, which tells me that it's a hot rock. And most people, when they think of hot rocks, are thinking of ironstones. A hot rock is a rock that you can't tune out, you can't do nothing about it except dib it up, throw it in a big bush, and ignore it. An ironstone, on the other hand, you can tune out. God, I wish I had one around here somewhere. Oh, well, looky here. That'll help. Now, in case anybody's wondering if this is really an ironstone, yes, this is really an ironstone. Sticks to that magnet just fine. An ironstone you can deal with, and when you're out hunting in the field and you're finding these things, you need to deal with them because you're going to lose nuggets if you don't. If you're tuned with a neutral ground balance like we showed you to start with, and you go over a hot rock, you're going to hear this boing sound. The noise goes null over the ironstone, and then it comes back with a loud boing as your machine recovers. And you can take a pretty nice nugget and stick it underneath an ironstone like that and lose it. We got one here that's about a pennyweight. I'm going to set it underneath this ironstone, and you won't hear any target. All you're going to hear is the ironstone. So if you're hunting an area that has a lot of ironstones like this, you want to tune to them, or you're going to miss nuggets, just like this one here that we can't hear. In order to tune to these things, take this nugget out of here, you want to treat this ironstone like it's your regular ground, and ground balance to it, just like we showed you earlier. You can either pump up and down or go over it. It gets quieter as you're going down, so we're going to turn up the ground balance. It's a little too far. I prefer to do it swinging back and forth. And you get to a spot where it's sort of a little double blip. When you're there, you can identify them by sound, and you're going to find nuggets underneath them. There's no mistaking that target now. That's how you hunt an area with ironstones. And as you move from patch to patch, your ironstone intensity will change, so you always want to be playing with your ground balance and adjust into these things, and then you're not going to lose nuggets or leave them behind for me. But that's okay too.
Thanks a lot, Larry. That was a great starting off point for our presentation. Now that I've found a nice, comfortable place to sit, it's a good opportunity to talk about another important aspect of gold prospecting, and that's research. Now, there are many, many ways to go about your research for gold prospecting. You can get to know those areas where the old-timers placered, get to know those areas where detectable traces of gold have been found. And another great source? Publications. Just like this, Arizona Gold Placers and Placering, Placer Gold Deposits of Nevada. You know, practically every state in the western United States has publications such as these, covering the western states as well as Alaska. Don't forget the topo maps as well. They're all available in prospecting stores that specialize in gold prospecting. They have these publications, they have the equipment you're going to need. And another source are your local and university libraries. Now, the next professional we want you to meet is Bob Gutowski, commonly known as Nugget Bob, and there's a good reason for that. You know, back in August of 1992, Bob was just over here on the 24 Gold Club claims. That's where he's going to be today when we visit him. In a so-called worked-out patch, he found, at a depth of 14 inches, a 7 2/3 ounce nugget, plus another 2-ouncer and an ounce of smaller ones, all within a 2-day period. Now, do you wonder why he's called Nugget Bob? Enough about talking about him. Let's go find him. Now, Bob, I understand you've been using the Fisher Gold Bug since they first came out. How'd you get started in this game?
Well, as a matter of fact, I started out hunting coins with a coin machine, and thinking that if you could find gold coins with a coin machine, why not find gold nuggets? I came out to an area such as this, the infamous Rich Hill, brought a popular coin machine with me, and was lucky and managed to find a few nuggets. Pondering this, many of the companies started coming out with the newer high-tech gold machines. And I thought, well, maybe there'd be a better machine. So I got myself a brand new gold bug, a specific machine, came out, started hunting some of the same places that I'd hunted with the coin machine, started finding nuggets in the same places I'd already hunted. It was just like starting all over again. The higher tech machines make all the difference. If you're going to hunt coins, get a coin machine. If you're going to hunt gold, get a gold machine. Tuning a gold bug can be rather simple, actually. It only requires a few steps. I normally start with a volume all the way on. The sensitivity depends on the area you're in. Sometimes you can handle higher settings, which will give you greater depth, but also in the same sense, too high of settings will cause the metal detector to be erratic. So I recommend that you stay as high as you can, but come down to a lower setting to where the metal detector is less erratic, because false signals will only hurt you rather than help you. The next step is your threshold. It's located down here at the bottom. You turn the threshold up until you can just hear a slight hum. You don't want too loud of a hum, you don't want too low of a hum. Both of these will lose depth and sensitivity. Very, very slight hum. I recommend the auto-tune mode, especially for beginners. Ground balance is very important also. Ground balance is your metal detector's ability to deal with a particular temperature of the ground, meaning the amount of minerals in a given spot. This is achieved by lowering and raising the coil and turning the center knob clockwise or counterclockwise until the tone becomes almost constant. No change going up or down. Many people I've seen hunting are hunting so far out of tune that it takes a large nugget for them to even notice the difference. So you should pay close attention to this adjustment. When it becomes almost dead neutral, up or down, your metal detector's tuned and you're ready to go. When prospecting in a known gold area, piles of rocks like this, left behind by the old-timers' earlier excavations, is always a good indicator of a place to start hunting with your metal detector. Places such as this, where they've dug large holes in the ground, testing to see if there's any gold, are easy places to get to the gold. Being shallow makes it much easier to pick up with your metal detector.
Bob, why did you tell us about a coyote hole?
Well, the term coyote hole refers to one of these old holes dug by the old-timers doing testing. And one of the biggest mistakes I see people make with metal detectors is they don't keep the coil close enough to the ground. They tend to sweep over the bushes. I found that by going a little bit slower and keeping your coil in tight and close, a lot of times it'll give you that extra inch or two of depth, and it'll help you to find those nuggets that everybody else is walking right by. Sometimes, if I get close to a rock that's easy to move, I'll move the rock. Just simply pull it down out of the way. That'll give you a couple more inches of depth. Sometimes make it that much easier. Sometimes I'll even knock a few weeds aside. A lot of people avoid the weeds. They just walk around them like it's by about 6 inches of depth. I found a lot of nuggets under weeds.
Well, we've been following Bob around for quite a while now. He's just moved over across the canyon. I got a feeling he knows something that we don't. Maybe if I ask him, he'll tell us what's going on here. What are you seeing on the side of this hill that makes you want to hunt it, Bob?
Well, actually, there's several things I'm seeing here that makes it look interesting. One of them is that there's quartz float, and seems how the majority of the nugget-sized gold comes from quartz veins. It's always a good place to concentrate them where the quartz is eroding down the side of the mountain, as it's usually where the gold comes into the creeks. Also, the fact that there's hematite, ironite. It's shallow here. You can see the bedrock sticking out in several places, so you know the ground's not real deep. And if there is any nuggets here, they'll be well within your metal detector range. Always pay careful attention to get in as close to the bushes, over and in between a lot of the rocks. A lot of people don't realize you can actually pick up a nugget with a metal detector right through a rock. Sometimes the rocks are just hot rocks. All you have to do is just reach down and move them out of the way. Check the signal again. Signal's there. Continue digging. Sounds pretty good. You should always be careful digging. You don't want to strike the ground hard, as nuggets are very soft, and if you strike them with a pick, you can put a pretty bad dent in them. Sounds like I might have it out of the hole. Check right here. Not there. Let's see. I can hear it hit. Somewhere right here. There she is. Nice little penny waiter. Make a nice little necklace or earring.
Is there a reason for those chaps you're wearing, Bob?
Actually, what these are is 1,000 denier nylon snake-proof chaps. They're great for out here in the desert. Not only you don't have to worry about the rattlesnakes as much, but you can venture into the cactus and around the prickly pear where a lot of other people won't go. I found a lot of nuggets in these areas just for that reason.
Now this area looks like it didn't just naturally happen. What's the deal on this stack of rocks?
Actually, these rocks up here that are neatly stacked are what they used to call cribs. And the old timers used to take the material out of the creek, bring it up here above the cribs, and do a lot of the dry washing. They use it to hold the material back and is a good base for the dry washers. And oftentimes they left nuggets in the banks behind it, and they also left nuggets that came off the dry washers sitting in it. Always a good place to check. Sometimes by pulling these rocks down and exposing some of the old bank material, you can pull a lot of nuggets out of the bank that the old timers just left behind. I've even found nuggets that have actually bled out of these old banks with the natural erosion. Why don't we try pulling down a few and see what happens. By pulling down some of these stacked rocks, it exposes some of the old original creek bank bed.
Yeah, and I guess the old timers drug a lot of that dirt up from the creek bed too, right?
Yeah, a lot of times they set their dry washers up here, and as we've already discussed, they screen a lot of the larger nuggets right off the grizzlies and don't even see them because they're dirty. Which makes it easier for you. Check this out. There's a fair signal.
You think it could be a hot rock?
Doesn't sound like a hot rock. No. Boy, if that's a nugget, it's a big one.
Well, it sounds good from here.
Let me get a little closer on this. There it is. Yo, yo. This is what makes it all worthwhile right there. I'd say that one would probably go somewhere around an ounce, maybe better.
Wow, look at that. It's a beauty.
Here's a signal we picked up while we were moving the camera around. It sounds pretty good. I thought maybe we'd dig it up and see what it is. It looks like it's behind the old timers' cribs, so good possibility it's virgin dirt. Yep. Yeah, they can't all be nuggets, but hunting banks like this can be very productive. It's eroded away from the creek here changing course. One thing I recommend on it is choke up on your metal detector about halfway. It'll take a lot of strain off your arm instead of holding it clear from the back. And another thing is, as you swing these, you can either work from top to bottom or bottom to top. I see a lot of people go up and down. And the problem you'll have with that is when this gets laid down, it gets laid down in layers, and there's hot and cold and hot. And when you swing up and down on these, your metal detector will have a hard time retuning to it. So it's much more stable and smoother if you go side to side. Much easier for your metal detector to stay in tune.
Now, Bob, that looks like just a mishmash of a lot of different types of rock. Is that right?
Well, this is a little mixture of everything that's been sliding down the hill, but you never know. There could be nuggets in it, too.
Well, it's pretty obvious that this piece of ground is not just natural, so what's the deal on this disturbed area we're looking at, Bob?
Actually, what this is a club property. It's called the 24 Karat Club, and for a fee you can join this club, and they actually come in here with a dozer and scrape this off for their members. And it makes it real easy to get down to the gold. Makes the nuggets shallower, makes them easier to pick up. It's actually a good place to learn.
So are you saying, Bob, that being a member of a club like this makes prospecting some pretty easy pickings?
Oh, I've seen some real nice nuggets come out of these areas. The dirt's a little hot. You have to go a little slow with it and come down on your sensitivity. But if you take your time, keep your coil fairly close. There's a little suspicious signal. Starting to sound a little better. Oh, moved it. Let's find out if it's gold.
Well, I heard something hit.
There it is. Nice little piece. Make a nice little earring for your wife.
What would that weigh, Bob?
Oh, I'd say 10, 15 grainer. Good character piece. You wash the dirt off of it, it'd be a real nice looking piece. What I've got here is one of the problems you'll run into in one of these scrapes, and it's a piece of red clay that is extremely hot because of the high iron content. It'll give you a false signal, but I found a lot of nuggets embedded in this clay, so the best way I've found to deal with them is to just take and split them into several pieces carefully in case there is a nugget in them. Check it again. If they both sound equally hot or all three pieces sound about the same, it's just a piece of hot ground. If there's a nugget embedded in there, it'll hit from one side or the other. They won't all sound the same, and that's the way you can tell the difference between the hot clay and whether there's actually a gold nugget embedded in it.
Thanks a lot, Bob. That was informative. I don't know about you, but there's no doubt in my mind anymore why he's nicknamed Nugget Bob. You know, since less than 2% of all the gold mined in the world is in nugget form, their rarity commands a higher value than the spot market price at any point in time. You might ask, well, what do you do with gold nuggets when you find them? A lot of prospectors have them fashioned, or will fashion them themselves into fine jewelry items just like these. Bracelets, necklaces, and even gold inlay on a watch band. Well, let's move on now and meet our next pro. Glenn Anderson has been swinging a detector for more than 31 years. And if it's to be done or seen in prospecting, he's done it. He's done it all over the world. Well, let's let Glenn tell you all about it. Well, it's been a long time, Glenn. When did you first start metal detecting?
I started metal detecting for coins and rings and treasure back in 1963. And I started nugget hunting in the 22nd of December of '86. And I found my first nugget on New Year's Eve of '86. And then I have prospected all over the West, all the way from Mexico to Alaska, and I've been to Australia 3 times, into the western outback, the bush of Australia. I found about 7.5 pounds of gold so far.
So tell us where we are now, Glenn.
Well, we're about northwest of Phoenix and about east of Wickenburg. We're very close to areas that are right now under claim by the Gold Prospectors Association of America and the Phoenix Roadrunners. There's other claims throughout this area, and it's always important to know whose claims you're on and have permission. First of all, I will show you how to use the Tesoro Lobo. The very first step is to turn the detector on. You will hear a tone indicating battery life and strength. Then you will turn it all the way up to the maximum. Then you will flip it up to the all metal position and turn it to the all automatic position. Then you will turn the discriminator down to 0, because when you're hunting gold nuggets you don't want to be discriminating. Dig every target, identify every target. The next thing, you will look to the back of the box and you will see a little black dial here. You will turn it until you hear an audio level. That's your threshold level. Once you've got that adjusted high enough to where you can actually hear to do your ground balancing, that will be the next step. Now I'll show you how I ground balance this detector. I lower it down to within 1 inch of the ground and pump it up and down from about 6 inches to 1 inch in this manner. If I'm unable to hear the threshold tone, I'll turn it up a little louder. And as I pump it up and down, I will turn my ground adjustment till it becomes steady in tone. As you can see right now, it's decreasing as I lower it, so I need to turn clockwise until I get a steady tone. If I go too far, it increases as I lower it, so I need to turn it counterclockwise until I get a steady tone. Now I will run my detector over my test nugget to see if it's responding properly. Now this is just a simple little nugget that I epoxied onto a wooden nickel. It's about a 6-grain nugget. I'm up at this section right now checking it out because down below us about 20 yards I see evidence where the old-timers have actually found some gold and have done some extensive work. I'm working up this hill. There's a possible patch here. I recently found a nugget right in here, and I think I might have a chance for another one. I'm going to grid this area as carefully as I can. I didn't have time before because of the weather. Now I'm going to grid back and forth between the bushes as carefully as I can so I won't miss anything. Follow the contours of the ground, listening for that faint little crisp, clear signal. And as you move forward, you will kick any rock out of the way that might possibly make it hard for you to get down close to the ground. Overlap your sweeps, keep the detector clear down to the ground, especially at the end of your sweep. Don't come up high, keep it clear down on the ground. And as you move forward, you will constantly move your detector, checking any little place that might have a nugget in it. Get down in the crevices, into the hard to the reach areas. If there's any nuggets in there, we should be able to hear them. Well, we didn't find anything in that spot. I think what I'll do is I'll grid back and forth between these bushes. It looks like a pretty good area to start.
You know, there's an interesting side note here. You heard Glenn mention that he's found 7.5 pounds of gold, and over 5 pounds of that were found with a Tesoro.
As you see, I'm overlapping my sweeps and keeping the detector clear down as close as I can. Every inch of penetration is important, so you don't want to be sticking it up in the air too high. I got a pretty strong signal here. I'm going to pull the plug and let you listen to it.
You're right, that does sound good.
Yeah, that's a pretty strong signal. First thing I do is pinpoint it. Then the next step is to dig the target out of the ground. Oh, there it is right there. I see it already. Look at that. It's a nice little nugget.
That is pretty. Look at that. How much do you think it would weigh, Glenn?
It's probably about an 8-grain nugget, I would guess. It doesn't feel quite as heavy as a half a pennyweighter, but that's a pretty nice nugget. Always recheck your hole. I get another signal. This is an obvious patch. That was a fairly strong signal, so I figured I had to dig a little deeper.
So this signal looks like it's below the first one?
That was a little bit forward of the other one. I have to dig a little deeper. There, I moved it. Once you moved it, the next step is to pinpoint it in the pile and then take your plastic bowl or cup and see if you can recover it. I got it the first time. Once you get it in the bowl, you put half in your hand and you can still see it's in the bowl. So I put this pile down in case there's more nuggets and put half more in my hand, and it's still in the bowl. Whoop, I moved it. Now it's back in the bowl again. Holy cow, look at that one.
It's a beauty.
That must be close to a penny weight. It's got some quartz on it. That's pretty good for that one spot there. I can see where we're going to have to do some careful gritting in this place and seriously moving the bushes, underneath the bushes, and picking up the trash. I see trash up there. We're going to have to move that. So I'm going to be gritting this one in all directions today, and I hope to find some more like that. I'm going to put those in my pouch.
So Glenn, how do you think the old-timers prospected this creek bed?
Well, it looks like they've done some pretty heavy-duty work in here. They've probably dry washed it or maybe used some other techniques, but they got down to the caliche, the more or less false bedrock that this creek seems to be composed of, and looks like they did a little digging in it, and it's pretty hard digging. It takes some pretty strong tools. There's a lot of chance of nuggets in this stuff because it probably was the type of material that was flowing during a volcanic action of some type, and it's solidified and it's pretty hard. I'm going to go right up through the gut right now and later on check the sides. Yeah, the caliche looks like it's on both sides of the creek. It goes clear up on the hills. It's pretty much exposed right here where the water action got to it, you know. Whoa, I got a good signal here. Oh, looks like a pull tab. That one goes in the pouch. Always check your hole afterward.
You always pick up all your trash and take it out, right?
Yeah, if you possibly can. You know, if it's a car body, you might wait till later. The thing to remember here is you got to check all these little vug holes where the flow of the creek was at its strongest. I got a signal in here. This is where the knee pads come in handy. I got it in the bowl. There it is. It's got some kind of host rock on it.
Well, what do you think it could be?
Oh, it could be hematite, could be magnetite. This This magnet's pretty powerful. Uh-oh, look at that.
Now, how would you explain that, Glenn?
If it's got enough magnetite on it, you can actually pick it up with a magnet. This is a very powerful magnet, so it'll actually attract the nugget, even though there's, you know, quite a bit of weight to the nugget. That little bit of magnetite is going to be able to be attracted by that magnet.
Do you think, Glenn, that a lot of the black sand in the area, and it looks pretty thick, was made up maybe partly of this magnetite, and maybe hematite, and various other minerals?
Yeah, see, each time I run my magnet through all this material, see how much stuff is picked up? That's got magnetite in it, and that's what we call black sands. Also, black sands can have hematite, they can have garnet, and a bunch of other heavy rocks that are ground down pretty small. So you can see there's a lot of heavy materials in here, and that's where they concentrate. So this is where you'll find a lot of gold, right down through the gut of the creek. The reason I'm coming up this hillside, you can see there's a possibility up in here of an outcropping of quartz. I found a float specimen down in the bottom of the gully, had a little bit of visible gold in it. And so I'm trying to work up the hillside, hoping I can find an outcropping where the gold might be breaking off of a vein. When I come to a bush such as this is where my cane comes in handy.
So finally we're going to get to watch that, are we?
Yeah. Everybody thought I was crippled, didn't they? Anyway, this is a wooden cane with no metal on it. I come up to a bush and pry underneath and raise it up, and I can go almost all the way to the roots, checking as I go. And if it turns out to be a pretty heavy branch, I use the hooked end and pull it up and detect under it. That way I don't really disturb the bush, but I can get nuggets if they're under these bushes. As you can see, these bushes haven't been disturbed. They're in place and have been ever since man ever used a detector. So this is one way of finding gold when all the other people keep saying there's no gold left. Uh-oh, I'm getting into some cholla, and this has been dragged in by pack rats. It makes it pretty difficult to detect in this kind of stuff because they do it to keep the animals from coming after them. It's awful easy to get these stickers all over your feet, but it's nice to check around them because pack rats are very funny little critters. They like to pick up stuff that looks shiny. I get a signal here. They pick up things that are shiny and things that are odd, and they collect them in their pack rat nest. You gotta be really careful here before I got another signal over there too. So you always want to check these things. In Australia, there's certain birds that like to collect goodies too, and you're always checking where their nests are. It's kind of touchy working in here. You never know what you're going to come up against. Here's a shotgun shell. Goes in my pouch.
So aside from books, do you have any helpful hints on research?
It also helps to talk to the old timers. I spent a lot of time on the benches in front of the grocery stores talking to the old fellas that know a lot of little things that aren't in the books. I have found a lot of gold just by hearing a statement or two, possibly not even talking to the people, but just sitting behind them or in a restaurant. And gold is picked out of the ground by picking it out of people's head first. It's a very important thing to remember. Somebody in the past has still got some information that could mean the difference between whether you find a nugget or not. I enjoy prospecting, but I also enjoy listening to the old timers, and that's where I get most of my information.
Thanks, Glenn. You've given us just a few nuggets of your 31 years of prospecting experience, and we appreciate it. You know, you might be an old hand at prospecting, or maybe it's something you're just thinking about doing as recreation. One of the things you might want to consider is becoming affiliated with one of the Gold Prospector Clubs. The largest organization is the Gold Prospectors Association of America. The GPAA has many hundreds of mining claims and several hundred of thousands of acres of land from Georgia through to Alaska. Another fine organization is the Roadrunners Prospectors Club, headquartered in Phoenix, Arizona. Whatever you do, make your prospecting pay off by becoming affiliated with one of those organizations, and check your local area as well. Let's meet another one of our pros now, Floyd Allen, or as he's more commonly known, Frugal Floyd. If you've been reading any of the treasure hunting or prospecting magazines, you've undoubtedly read of Floyd's experiences. Floyd's been scouring the patches of Arizona since anyone can remember. And recently, he invited us to follow him around to one of his patches, but we knew something wasn't quite right when he insisted that we use 4x4 vehicles. Let me show you what we mean. By fours. Boy, Floyd, you weren't just kidding, were you? That's got to be one of the worst roads I've been on. Are we here yet?
Well, if you like that, you're going to love the rest of the trip. I'll tell you that, because we still got some ways to go here. I think we're going to go up here another few hundred yards and hunt the bottom of this creek a little bit.
Sounds good. We'll be right behind you.
All right, great. Okay, follow me.
Well, Floyd Allen, I guess you're going to be just like the other three guys and tell us precisely where we are.
I'll tell you what, we're about 60 miles north of Phoenix and about 300 miles east of Albuquerque, or west of Albuquerque, so figure that one out. Yeah, we are. We're in the south east end of the Bradshaw Mountains somewhere. And my friends here have drugged me out of bed today with the flu, and I'm going to attempt to find the gold nugget here, this XT-17000. It's Mine Lab's finest. They're proud of it, and I like it. It's a totally automatic machine. Basically, all you have to do is turn the thing on and go find some gold. Naturally, you're going to have to know where to find the gold, and that's what we're going to attempt to show you today. But let me take a little rundown on the machine. Once you get it set up, like I said, it's totally automatic, and that's it. So what we do is we're going to put the machine in normal here. We're going to put the machine in normal soil condition. We're going to put the machine in automatic track. Now that's where the machine does its own thinking for you. You don't have to do a thing after that. The main thing here is to set the threshold properly, and that is just so you can barely hear a mosquito in your ear. Now once you get that accomplished, you put your earphones on and you go hunt gold. So why don't we try this? What I'm going to do is I'm going to turn the machine on. I'm going to hold it up in the air a little bit here, and I'm going to turn this threshold to where I can barely hear like a mosquito. Now once I've accomplished that, all I have to do is put this machine to the ground, and it's tuned, and we can go hunt gold. Okay, what we've got here is an old inside bench. You can tell that by all these rounded boulders we got in here. And what's happened is the water's then come back down through it again and popped out a bunch of bedrock. So I think what I'm going to do, I'm going to walk down here, and I'm going to take a shot at this bedrock and work my way back up through here and see what we can find. Be careful not to break your leg. I found a long time ago not to wear bifocals out here, because you'll sure hurt yourself. So if you wear bifocals, leave them at home. Okay, I'm going to start down here amongst this cactus. I like to get in the cactus. And I'm just going to work as slow as possible. Get out through here. Make sure I overlap now. I don't want to get too carried away. I don't want to get too fast. That's the motion machine. You got to have a little bit of motion to it. You don't have to whip it. You don't have to break your neck. But the machine does have to have some slight motion to it. So keep it moving. Like I said, keep it close to the ground. Keep it contoured. You get a rock in the way, kick it out. Kick it back to you. Don't kick it in front of you. You got to kick it again. There's another rock. Kick that one out of the way. Just move right in here. Keep going. Oh, you hear that sound right there?
No.
That's a target. Can you pick that up?
Well, maybe if you pull the plug on your headset.
Well,
there.
let me just pull a plug here and see what happens here. I've got earphones on. You hear that? All right, now that's a target, and that's a good place for a piece of gold. Let's hope for the best here. All right, I'm going to get down here and see if we can't find this thing. Now, I've got my wrong glasses on. I can't see. I'm blind as a bat, so I'll see. Well, let's hope it's big enough to see here. Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to sweep the coil in one direction, pull in another direction, and I'm going to guess that nugget's laying about right in here. I'm going to guess it's a nugget. I just don't like digging junk, let's face it. So let's see here, what we got here.
You've already pulled a lot of trash out of this particular patch anyways, haven't you?
There's been a lot of trash coming out of here. Now you can blow these things out if they're not too deep. Now, that don't sound too deep. Now, lo and behold, look what we got laying right here. Can you see that? There's a little nugget laying in there. It's a pretty smooth little nugget. And the reason it's smooth is because it's on this old inside bench and it's traveled a ways and what have you. Okay, I'm gonna weigh it here for you. 7 grain. Okay, here we are in the bottom of the creek and we're doing a little bedrock hunting. I'm gonna just work my way down through here and see what pops up on this bedrock. This is it's a schisty bedrock. You see we have a little water puddles and what have you. I can run the machine right over here. Not too much trouble. It makes a little bit of noise, but if we had a nugget in it, it would come through. I'm gonna just work my way right on down through here. A few likely looking spots. As you can see, this is pretty water worn. Now if you'll take a look over here, you can see the same kind of schist as it is in its rough form, and here the water's run over it and smoothed it down. A lot of natural little traps in here, a perfect place to hunt for gold. Now we have found gold in here. It's been small gold. I'm sure there's more in here. Every time you go out, you find a little bit more. There's never a worn out patch. Okay. Now let me look over here. There's some areas over here that we've taken some gold out before.
You mean you actually pried it out of the bedrock?
We've actually pried it out of bedrock. You can take a look down in here. Little bright spot in here. Here's another little bright spot. Now both of these places held gold. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back over here. There's an area over here that looked pretty good to me, and I'm going to take my time and go through that a little bit. These guys are rushing me. I'm going to settle down over here and find me something here. Okay, I've talked to these guys and they let me slow down a little bit here and hunt some gold, so maybe we can find something in here. This looks real good. And once again, now you notice I'm working perpendicular to this schist here. I'm not working along the line, I'm cutting it this way. It's going to give me a better target if I do hit something.
So working the bedrock, you've had to pry out the gold down, what, half an inch or so?
Oh yeah, and I'll tell you, you get into hard rock, you've got a job. A lot of times I'll bring a little rock hammer and a chisel, and this is not a very effective tool for this kind of thing here. We're just kind of improvising here, but yeah, if I'm seriously bad rock hunting, I'll bring a little chisel and a rock hammer, and that way you can knock the gold out a little bit better here. I like all these little cracks and what have you in here. Once again, keep your coil close to the ground, take your time. Oh boy, what we got here? Listen to that. Can you hear that? Let me pull my earphones off here, maybe we can get a little better reading. I think it'll come through without those earphones. Sound like a pretty good little target. Where was it? Ah, got that?
Sounds good.
All right, I think we might have something going here, guys. All right, once again, I want to just cut it this direction. Get the loudest cut. Cut her this direction. And it's right. My years of expertise told me it's right in here. Yeah, it's probably over here somewhere, but we'll see.
Now, Floyd, if I remember right, you started hunting for gold with a metal detector, oh, when was it, 1986?
About 1986, and prior to that I did about 8 years of coin hunting. Prior to that I was relic hunting. I've been doing something all my life. Okay, let's see what we got here. I always like to see this stuff. I get a kick out of it if I can see it. Sometimes you get it in the hand and you're still chasing it. I like to kind of find it. Now, that wasn't hard. Look at here. Look at here. That's about a pennyweight nugget. That beautiful little nugget.
Now, that one looks kind of smooth and stained.
Yeah, it is. Well, that's because it's down here in the bottom of the creek. That'll clean up nice, so there's no problem there. I'll tell you what. Let's just put that in the container. What I got here is a nice plastic, little plastic container. You get them in the drugstore, cosmetic containers. They're nice, soft plastic. They won't rough your gold up. And, well, what I like to do is try to fill them up every day. I never have made it, but I'll give it a try. Speaking of containers, I have a friend over on Ridge Hill that lives up Cadaver Gulch. And what it is, it's an old 4570. And it's been trimmed down to a 4560, and it's got a cork in it, and it had a rag wrapped around the cork. And what it was a container to hold the old timer's gold. And I guess it had about a little over a pennyweight gold, I understand, in it. A lot of romance involved there. As a matter of fact, sometimes I just soon find something like this as I would a good nugget. It's a lot of fun. Okay, here we are a couple 100 yards up in the creek where we've been hunting. We're still on a bedrock. I'll tell you what, I'm just getting a little bit tired of hunting bedrock. We're going to jump out of this bedrock in a few minutes and get up on a bench up here, because I think that's where the big gold's at. So why don't we head on up there? All right, let me see if I can get across here without breaking my neck. Okay, well, here we are up on an old bench. And I'm going to sit down here for a minute and do what I normally do. These guys have been running my tail off all day. So what I normally do, you'll see this, the way I have this machine set up. If I set that down on the ground, the box itself is on the ground. So what I normally do is I'll take an old lace bandage and I'll just wrap that thing up. Now this does several things. First of all, it protects the box, keeps it from getting all scratched up. It holds the box on there so it's not about to get knocked off. In the summertime, it protects it from the heat. And of course, you got the added advantage, if you break your leg up here, you got an ace bandage. So I'll just wrap this thing up here and we'll get going.
So you're the one that started that?
As far as I know. I've seen everything in the world wrapped around these things, inner tubes, foam rubber of different types, old rags, everything in the world. But I think I'm one of the first that got this going. Another thing is, if you're on this real steep bank and you sit this machine down, this has a tendency to grab. And your machine's not off down the bank 20 feet and along your headphones, and you're not down there chasing it. So it's a pretty good little innovative idea, I think. I'll put a patent on it later. All right, we're looking down there where we found the small gold. Now we're up on the bench, and I think there's some bigger stuff up here. So I'm going to put my headphones on, and we're going to get busy and find some gold I can see without my glasses on. The way to find these benches is to get up here and start looking for river run. Now you'll notice, well, here's a piece of quartz right here. Now this piece of quartz has been tumbled by water. It shouldn't be sitting up here halfway up the hill unless it's an old river channel or something. Obviously, it's that part of that river channel down there. Well, anytime you find something like this on the side of a hill, you better stop, slow down, and smell the roses, because there's going to be some gold or something in here. You want to check it out real careful. Now, I haven't mentioned this before, but I wear shoes without any metal in it, and the reason I do that is so I can get this brush like this and sweep right over it. A lot of people don't hunt in brush. There's a lot of gold in brush. Once again, you can just knock the brush over, go right over your foot. No problem. Get up in here. Remember now, get these rocks out of the way here. That thing's in the way. Get it out of the way. Whoa! Now that's the kind of sound we like to hear in the Arizona desert. Can you hear that? Let me pull this off of here. That sounds good. You hear that?
Whoa, you bet I do.
Yeah, golly, let's dig that thing up. All right, that sounds good. I like it's a nice, sweet, mellow sound. Okay, let's pull this out like this here. Hope that sound's still in there. Still in there. Golly, look at that.
Well, I hear they're better when they're
Oh,
deep.
you better believe it. Now, if we suspect something in there, we don't want to just bang right down on top of it. That could be a $500 nugget there. So let's just kind of get around in here and loosen that up a little bit. Go around it. We want to keep a hand like this. We don't want this going down the bank. So keep your hand in position there and you dig that out. Pull this thing out here. All right, let's try it again. Oh, geez, still in the ground. All right. Let's work around this thing a little bit here. We're getting down in the ground. That's what we like to see too. When you start getting down in the ground, it starts getting exciting. Well, I've kicked it out. It's over in here somewhere. There, we're right in here somewhere. Not in that hand. Now don't take that dirt and throw it off down the hill. You'll have to be looking down that hill for a nugget, and you just toss down the bank. Not there either. Not there either. Hey, I think it's in that hand. Not in that hand. You know what? I can feel that. There's something heavy. Oh, gee, look at this. That makes my day right there. God, I love it. I love finding these things like that. That's fantastic. I'll tell you, I never get over the thrill. It's just, I guess that's what gold fever is all about. All right, well, needless to say, I'm a little bit excited over that last piece of gold there. That's the kind I like to find, the ones I can see and feel in my hand. We're working along here. Just take your time and make sure you just keep your coil to the ground and overlap once in a while. You get next to this cactus here, don't be afraid of this thing. Get in there and poke around a little bit. You'd be surprised how much gold this kind of thing hides because people don't want to get stuck. Hey, you notice how I whipped that one? I got a little target there and I whipped it. That intensifies it. Well, I got something in there. It's pretty good size. Well, that explains that. There's an old bolt of some kind in there. I guess I'm not going to retire today, but that's what that was. While we're on the subject of trash, at least you think all we've been doing is digging gold all day long. We've been doing our share of trash digging too. You get your leg squats in this hobby. I've got about 8 or 10 pieces there. I've probably got another 8 or 10 in my pocket here. So I'll tell you what, though, I'm happy when I'm digging trash because I know that the area's not hunted out. If you get into an area that doesn't have any trash, chances are it's been beat to death. Well, let's poke around a little bit more in here.
Thanks a lot, Floyd. See, I told you we were going to be working with some real pros. This next piece is going to be real interesting. Now, my director said the only thing I'm allowed to say is that we're somewhere in Arizona. We're getting a chance now to have a look at a small commercial operation using a track hoe and then pulling out the gold with a metal detector. Down in the hole is Bob Kennerconnect and Jim Malone, and working behind the scenes is their partner, Waddy Hunkins. Recently, they got onto a real pay streak, and they were kind enough to let us film it.
Sometimes trash will fall off the top, though.
Yeah, you do lose a lot off from those buckets, don't you?
Yeah, but this is kind of loud, though.
Boy, I couldn't imagine trying this without one of those super magnets. Just some trash, Bob?
Gave a pretty good target, though. That's from some of the stuff falls in. Here's another good target.
Yeah, it does sound good.
Listen to that.
Here, let's see what this is. Let me hear that.
Right underneath this big boulder.
Yeah, it's a likely spot.
Something feels pretty heavy here. There's one for you, Jim.
How big is that?
Look at that.
My God.
Whoa, now this is what it's all about. Hold that one up to the camera,
You found
guys.
it.
Now that's a nugget.
How much will that
Must
weigh?
be about, I don't know.
3 to 4 ounces?
Yeah, that's a beauty.
My God. Well, that makes the day, doesn't it? I'll guarantee you.
Thanks a lot, guys. Well, I wonder if they might be interested in taking in another partner. You know, if you thought that all we dug up was nuggets, you're wrong. Here's just a small sample of what we found when we were doing the filming of this presentation. Railway spikes, remains of old tin cans, bolts, bullet shells, you name it, we've got it in here. And it's just a small sampling of what you're going to find in your prospecting. So as we near the end of our presentation, we need to say a huge thank you to each of the pros who worked with us in making this presentation available. And you should also know that they're all available for some one-on-one field training. So whether your prospecting is going to be done in the deserts of the Southwest, the outback of Australia, the Rocky Mountains, the Great Pacific Northwest, or Alaska, all of the techniques you've learned today are going to apply no matter where you go. Now there you have it, folks. Gold. It's elusive, it's peculiar, it's fickle at best. But simply stated, gold is where you find it. I'm Graham Alcock. Thanks for being with us.